You're on the Bible Forum. Are you ready for a global reset? For those of you who are not familiar with the phrase global economic reset, it's one that has been ever used increasingly by elitists in the central banking world. This according to prophecynewswatch.com. The reset is often mentioned in the same breath as ideas like the new multilateralism, or the multipolar world order, or the more popular New World Order. All these phrases mean essentially the same thing. The reset is prompted as a solution to the ongoing economic crisis that was triggered in 2008. Of course, this same financial crash is still with us today, but now, after a decade of central bank money printing and debt creation, the bubble is even bigger than it was before. What this means is that the crash we face today is far more deadly than what would have happened in 2008 if we had simply taken our medicine and refused to prop up weak parts of the economy artificially. Many alternative economists, often wrongly attribute the Fed's habit of making things worse to just ignorance. They think the Fed actually wants to save the financial system or protect the golden goose, but the facts indicate this is not a reality. The truth is the Fed is a saboteur, a suicide bomber that is willing to destroy even itself as an institution in order to explode the U.S. economy and clear the path for a new globally centralized one world system. Hence the phrase global reset. As far back as 2015, the same author wrote a piece he entitled "The Global Economic Reset Has Begun." The global reset is not a response to the process of collapse that entraps us. The global reset has been implemented by central banks and is the cause of the collapse. BIS, Bank for International Settlements, IMF, International Monetary Fund. These have all been intricately involved in this process. The collapse is a tool, a flamethrower, burning a great hole in the forest to make way for the foundations of the globalist ziggurat that is to be built. As a result, economic disaster serves the interests of elitists. Today, we see the globalist plan coming to fruition, with elites revealing what appears to be their intent to launch a reset in 2021. The World Economic Forum officially announced the Great Reset Initiative as part of their COVID action platform just last week. And a summit is scheduled in January 2021 to discuss their plans more openly, discussing them with the world and the mainstream media. The reset, according to discussions by the IMF, is basically the next stage in the formation of a one-world economic system and potential global government. It seems to fall in line with the solutions offered during the Event 201 pandemic simulation, a simulation of a coronavirus pandemic that was held by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the World Economic Forum just 2 months before the real thing. Event 201 suggested that one of the top solutions to a pandemic would be the institution of a centralized global economic body that would handle the financial response to the coronavirus. Does the phrase "let no crisis go to waste" come to mind? And the model of the globalists, order out of chaos. Around the world, in almost every nation, civil unrest is a way of life. The stability of Western nations has always been a problem for change agents. But now there's a pandemic, COVID-19. The resurgence of infections after the so-called reopening will no doubt result in a lockdown of our economy that will carry us through to the election at least. Economists are suggesting that the last vestiges of the system, hanging by a thin thread after the crash of '08, are now being severed. Civil unrest appears to be our new way of life, as it is around the world. Along with the resurgence of infections, creating a rationale for a second wave of lockdowns that will lead to financial disaster for even more. Does anyone know where the billions of dollars came from that showed up in our bank accounts or were mailed out? Over 1 million checks were mailed to people who are dead. I think it was 1.5 million. And we're being told that none of those checks were returned. The goal is obvious: terrify the population with poverty, internal conflicts, and a broken supply chain until they lobby the establishment for help. Then be there to offer the solution. The solution of medical tyranny, immunity passports, martial law, a global economic system based on a cashless digital society in which privacy in trade is erased. Then slowly but surely form a faceless, multilateral global government that answers to no one and does whatever it pleases. You do realize all of this is exactly what the Bible predicts for the years just before Jesus returns, right? A new world order, a global reset, a centralization of power, but in a way that is meant to be sustained for centuries to come. The elites know that it's not enough to achieve global governance by force alone. Attempts at this lead only to resistance and eternal rebellion. What the elites want is for the public to ask, to beg for global governance. If the public is tricked into demanding it as a way to save them from the horrors of global chaos, then they are far less likely to rebel against it later. There's a formula for all of this. It's called problem, reaction, solution. Given where we are, the real solution would be for people to form more self-reliant communities free of the mainstream economy. The real solution should be decentralization and independence, not centralization and slavery. The real test will come with the final collapse of the existing economy. If, when, stagflation spikes even harder than it is right now, and prices of necessities double or triple again, and joblessness skyrockets even further, how many people will clamor for the globalist solution? And how many will build their own systems? How many will be bowing in submission, and how many will be ready to fight back? There are no answers to these questions. We're going to live it out, and we're going to learn.